Good morning. Hey, y'all. How are you? Good morning. How's everyone? I'm hanging on and hanging on. I want to make sure that you guys see me and that you can hear me just fine. I am Sabrina Lowery and I am live here in the Geek Tank. Welcome back. I've got some great information for you guys today that I'm going to be sharing. So I am live streaming powered by my joystick Junior today, right here live at Legacy Realty and Management, because I've got some important information to share with you guys. And so I'm going to do a little bit of screen share and kind of move my camera around so that you can see my demonstration on some new tools that we have here in Georgia for our dispossessory process. So with that being said, we are live here in the Geek Tank, and I thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Sabrina Lowery, and I am your technology evangelist. I've got some great information for you. As you all jump on, let me know that you are hearing and seeing me clearly on our broadcast today, and give me some love, give me some feedback, some hearts, some likes. Let me know that I am not here alone, and that defeats the process, the purpose. Excuse me, okay? And let me get another cup of coffee going. So with that being said, let's jump right in to some great information that I have for you. I want to make sure that, first of all, if this is your first time tuning in to the Geek Tank, that you turn on your notifications, so that as I go live with any featured content at any given time, you are able to watch. So thank you for jumping on, TKWin05. How you doing today? I am sharing some information here about subscribing to fan pages and also on social media, not only following that fan page for the business, but also subscribing to their YouTube channels or their email subscriptions for even more great information and content that they are bringing you. So I want to take this opportunity today as we talk about technology. Hi, hey Kevin, thank you for jumping on. How you doing? Hi Judge, what's going on, honey? Thank you for jumping on. I'm talking about the Landlord-Tenant Law today and the e-filing system here in Georgia. So I'm going to ask you to just kind of follow along. I'll share some links on the screen and make sure that you all get the information. So thank you for tuning in. If you are watching me on Instagram, you can jump on to my Facebook fan page and see some of the content and the links that I will be sharing, and you can bookmark them later on. Hey, sweetie. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into this important information because I think it is worthy of sharing. And so on my broadcast on Facebook right now, you guys, I'm multiple streaming. So I've got my joystick device here on Instagram, and I'm also live on my business page on Facebook. So if you're not following my business page on Facebook, it is facebook.com/Sabrina Lowery, RE Tech. All right. And so if somebody can drop that in the comments for me here on IG, I would greatly appreciate it. And for those of you that are here on Facebook, again, please turn on your notifications so that you will be notified and given alerts when I do have a live video going on with some amazing content for you. So as you can see, we're about to touch on Georgia Landlord-Tenant Law. And the reason I'm touching on that is because I have been interviewing with and speaking to a number of real estate investors and wannabe investors and people that really want to learn more about the process and the pros, the cons, and some of the legalities as it relates to being a landlord in Georgia. Because I am a licensed broker here in the state of Georgia, I can speak from experience about this topic. And for those of you that are in other states, if you've got landlord-tenant law in your area that you wish to share with your investors, I highly encourage you to do so. It just is some great, powerful information. And so what I've got for you today is a link to a resource which is going to have the Georgia Landlord-Tenant Handbook, which is the state's rental laws, okay? And so I am dropping that link here in Facebook so that you can see that information. And so what you'll want to do is make sure that you can get that file and download that file, and also make sure that you share that with your clients, because this is a great resource. Okay, so it is a PDF. Download this resource. It is the Georgia Landlord-Tenant Law Handbook. Okay, I am sharing that on the Facebook page. And for those of you on IG, again, if you jump on Facebook, you can get this link, or just Google Georgia Landlord-Tenant Handbook, and the 2017 edition is available there. So I just dropped that link here on the live stream. And so I want to just continue and talk about what this handbook actually does for our clients. First of all, it is a 29-page handbook. It is referencing the law here in Georgia as it relates to owning rental properties. So for all of you investors that are in the buy and hold strategy, whether you are working with a property management company or not, this is information that you must have in your toolbox. And so with that being said, there are several components to this book. I'll just kind of highlight briefly what some of the key points are. It talks about the law. Number one. Okay, so the first thing it discusses is Georgia's law as it relates to Georgia landlord-tenant. This is Title 44. Chapter 7 of the official code of Georgia, which contains past legislature by Georgia that affect landlord-tenant relationships in our state. It further goes into the Georgia Fair Housing laws, and I do teach a CE class for that. If your organization needs to have a CE 3-hour training on the Georgia Fair Housing Law and Federal Fair Housing Law, let me know. Here in Georgia, that is going to be under Title 8, Chapter 3, and Article 4 of the official code of Georgia, and that is specifically about Georgia's Fair Housing Law. All right, next, let's jump into the federal, as I mentioned, fair housing laws, county and city ordinances. The last thing we all want is code enforcement running up on a rental property due to the tenant not maintaining the landscape for whatever reason. Okay, so things like that are very, very important. Thank y'all for jumping on. Thank y'all for jumping on. We are live here in the Geek Tank with a nice lesson for you. So continue to follow along. Okay, the next section of the Georgia Landlord-Tenant Handbook describes basic tenant rights. If you are not familiar with your rights as a tenant, I encourage you to do a little brief reading of this section of the Landlord-Tenant Handbook, because yes, there are things for the rights of disabled tenants, as an example, and things called reasonable accommodations where landlords must modify rules, policies, practices, and or services when a reasonable accommodation is necessary for a disabled person to use and enjoy a program or the dwelling itself. And so that's just a little quick snippet about some relevant content information there in this Landlord-Tenant Handbook. It also talks about discrimination. If for any reason you feel that you are being discriminated as you are the tenant in the property, there are some rights that you have. So refer to that section. Now it talks about the legal stuff. That basically means your lease, your contract. Basically, when you pay, you stay in Georgia. That is the law. And so when you pay, you stay. And you have an enforceable written lease agreement. That is now your contract. The contract that holds you accountable, you being the tenant, and the contract that holds the landlord accountable, and so on. Okay, so when it goes into that whole section here in the handbook, it is actually several pages long, and it is going to tell you all the detail about the process of being a renter. If you are not familiar with what a lease should be, on page 10 of the handbook, you will find an entire checklist of information that will help you identify what should be in your written lease. Landlords, take note. This is information for you as well. Then if you scroll down further along, here's the legal part that we are specifically talking about today. That talks about the legal process, okay? The legal process. Filing a lawsuit. Litigation, y'all. How many of you guys are aware of the litigious society and world and climate that we're in, where people actually find enjoyment in the scope of litigating and being in court? I personally don't like it at all. And so with that being said, I'm going to tell you why. Because as a broker, how it affects my life and my business. And so guess what, y'all? I basically am a landlord. I am the landlord's representative when I represent them as their broker. I'm the property management company. Therefore, I am held and bound by these same laws in this same handbook that we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure that you understand what creates now a legal dispossessory. In the state of Georgia, a dispossessory is basically legal jargon for evict. To evict someone. Eviction, to get kicked out because you have not stayed in, you have either overstayed and you have not paid. So with that being said, proceed with caution. Have all of your documentation aligned. Have your stories straight among all the residents. Who's paying and who's staying, who's going and who's not paying, because now we are in a legal small claim situation in order to get possession back of the property as the landlord and property manager of said property, y'all. So Georgia is not, I repeat, Georgia is not a self-eviction state. A landlord cannot, I repeat, in Georgia, a landlord cannot self-evict their tenant. They must go through this magistrate court process that I am speaking of. Okay, so landlords, I'd invite you to grab your notes, a pen, a pad, make a few bookmarks in your internet browser with some of these resources that I am going to share with you because I am helping you today. I've spent hours on this and it is unbelievable what the process entails. So again, I say proceed with caution. Okay, so let's jump right in. The reason I say proceed with caution is because have anyone's rights been affected here? Whether it's the landlord's rights to getting their property back at the end of a lease term. Hello. A landlord getting their property back because you have not paid or taken care of their property. So, ladies and gentlemen, proceed with caution, I say. The judge will now be the ruler of all things. And if the judge is going to be the ruler of all things, I highly suggest that you become familiar and acclimate yourself to verse and verbalize yourself accordingly through this process. Because Again, I say it is a process. It is a process. It is a process. It takes time. We are now talking about the legal system in Georgia, where nothing happens quickly. I repeat, nothing happens quickly. So with that being said, at the end of the lease, make sure that you do your final walkthrough. And if it is a matter of a tenant holding over and or squatting in a property, meaning they are unlawfully there in that residence, remember, you cannot self-evict. You must go through the court and file what's called a dispossessory application. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have all of these papers in front of me because as an example of the entire process, this brochure talks about what's called the court's eFile system. The court now allows the landlord and the tenant to do some of this paperwork relevant to the case and the legal filing of the documents electronically into a portal called Odyssey. And Odyssey is their e-filing system. You create an account and you can log in with your username and password, or you may also file anonymously. And so anonymously is just another option there. I'm actually going to bring up on my screen so that you can see what is happening. Let's see. Thanks, Judge. I appreciate the feedback, honey. Thank you for jumping on. Great information, he says, y'all. So if you like what you see and you're hearing, please share this information because I'm just trying to help someone today as I am helping some clients of mine as well. For all of you attorneys out there, if you specialize in Georgia Landlord-Tenant Law, I would like to talk to you. I need a roster of legal qualified attorneys here in Georgia that handle Georgia landlord and tenant filings. Please, if you know someone, tag them. If you know someone, tag them. Make an introduction. I need to be connected with these people and my clients need to be connected with them as a resource through this legal process. Get an attorney, get an attorney, get an attorney. I cannot express enough. You would not show up to a legal proceeding in front of a judge without an attorney on any other type of case, so don't consider this one any different. Get a lawyer. Okay, get a lawyer, get a lawyer, get a lawyer. All right, so let's go into, I am sharing this information right now so that everyone knows that we're about to get into the meat and potatoes of the meal here, and it is the process for e-filing a dispossessory in Georgia. So hang on while I pull this information up online so I can walk you through the exact links that you are going to need. And we are live. All right, let's see. Hold on. Here we go. So when you go on your internet browser, and I would turn my screen around, but just for the purposes of me moving forward right now, let's start with the process. So here's some of the basics. Number one, you're asking yourself, how do I even begin this dispossessory process and what does that look like? Okay, here in the state of Georgia, it is the magistrate court. Some counties, I believe, depending on where you are and how their system is set up, it may be superior court. Either way, just identify which court you are going to need to start with. So here we have the link. Odyssey, Odyssey. For any of y'all here, please type that down in the comments. Anyone there, type that in the comments. And so I would like to make sure that you all have this information. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, so Odyssey is the e-file system. It is an industry-leading electronic filing solution for the courts. So let me just turn my camera around. So yeah, maybe you can see a little bit of me and a little bit of my screen. I'm doing some live hands-on information right now for you guys, okay? So let's do this. Let's continue with our discussion. It is Odyssey, eFile, Georgia. So Odyssey, eFile, Georgia, I'm going to go ahead and that link, copy it into the Facebook announcements so that you all can follow along. All right. And so let's just type that into the comment box so you guys can follow along, and then you'll have that information as a resource. All right. So here, Odyssey is their electronic filing system. This electronic filing system is for the magistrate court and filing an eviction, a dispossessory. A property manager can use this tool. A landlord themselves may use this tool. The tenant may file their answer using this tool. And believe it or not, the attorneys will also use this tool. So I'm just sharing the comments here into our comments, and I want you guys to make sure, again, the information is there for you, okay? Google it if you need to. All right, I'm multi-broadcasting here, so that's why I'm going from camera to camera, but you guys just follow along and type this into your browser. So the next link is www.odysseyefile.ga.com. And you guys see here on my screen, I've got it up on my screen so you can see it. Those of you watching on Instagram, you can see a snippet of my screen. Those of you on Facebook, just simply click in through the link after the broadcast and then bookmark that, okay? More information about e-filing. This is available 24/7. So now you are saving yourself the time, the parking fee, the fees, and the fees for going down to the courthouse and spending hours at a time in line, waiting, notary services, getting paperwork filled out. You can do this in the comfort of your home, your office, and file electronically. I'm here to help you. Technology should be your friend. And if it is your friend, you must know how to use the tool. So I have been in this system a number of times now. Once you go into, there is a link that asks you, would you like to download this overview of what the e-filing system looks like, plays like, and I would highly recommend that you click into downloading that PDF file, because it's going to tell all of the attorneys what this powerful system will do for the counties that are subscribing to use it in Georgia. Not all counties may allow electronic filing. Not all counties may allow electronic filing. So with that being said, you'll simply contact your local magistrate court, ask them if their system is electronic and if you're able to upload the documents for the judge in their electronic file system. And here in Georgia, it is called Odyssey. Odyssey. Okay, so I'm moving on. And so once you go in, there is a link that says e-filing to your court. How do you e-file? There is a big old button at the top that says File Now. Once you see that File Now button, guess what? You guys on Instagram can see my screen loading. It is loading the Odyssey e-file system. Whether you have a registered account or not, you are able to get into this system and upload this documentation. So thank you for jumping on, Zaldana Appa, Zaldana Pa. Okay, how are you? I hope you like this information. And so here I'm moving on into the fact that this electronic filing system is secured. It does allow PDF file documents to be uploaded into the court that would then be stamped accordingly and paid for in the electronic system that the court has for you. I want you guys to know that in the state of Georgia, the fee as of April 1st, 2018, it is now $75, okay? $75 as opposed to $20 to file the paper to get the tenants out, so investors budget accordingly. Not only are you not getting rent, but now you're paying more fees to get the people out your house. So please, just comply with the process. All of the barking and the moaning and the complaining is not going to help anyone. You must follow the process, pay the fees, and wait your turn in line. It's a legal process. Nothing happens swiftly. I'm here to tell you, nothing happens swiftly. I would actually anticipate a 60-day or longer turnaround time from the day you walk into the court's office with your paper to the day you may get your property back. Let alone the conversation about the financials, which I will get into in a minute, that talks about the judgment, which is the separate piece when they have not paid and you are seeking monetary damages. Okay, so let's jump back in. We're on Odyssey. The link for that is a secured site, so it's going to begin with your https://georgia.tylerhost.net/OFS/web/. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that right here into our live comments here on the broadcast so that you can see that. And for those of you watching on IG, just Google it, copy and paste that link, and continue along. Hi, Kanisha. Thank you for that feedback, hon. If you would please share this information, I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, for Georgia dispossessory. All right, so there's that. So now, you guys, listen, this is the thing. Once you go to the court to e-file, you do realize that you are just taking a number and waiting in line. There is a whole self-help process in the court, and let me tell you about it. That basically means that there is no one there on staff to be your attorney. There is no one there to be your scribe to fill out the papers. And there is definitely no one there to be the act of God to magically snap their fingers and get the people out your house that day. So, with that being said, just have patience in this process. It will make everyone pull their hair out, but it is a process, and I'm here to help walk you through this process. So with that being said, I want you guys to please, and I beg of you, please leave your attitudes in the street before you walk into the courthouse, because all of your ranting and complaining is really not going to serve anyone well. As just walking into this process, it's actually very nerve-wracking. First of all, 90% of the people in there don't even understand the process, let alone now you want me to do it. And no one taught me or trained me. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I just want you to have some patience. I really need you to show that you understand that it's going to take a while for this electronic filing system to then upload some paperwork into the court system that then get handled by a clerk. And now this clerk must stamp and time and put your paper in line to the judge's desk now. Yet another set of hands that it must go through in order to get in line again. And now you're in line with the judge. And Lord, you know, there's over 900 cases seen, I believe, every month through these courts. And one judge, maybe two. I'm just saying, y'all get the math and the numbers. Take a number, get in line, and wait. hurry up and wait. Y'all heard that saying before, right? So with that being said, again, here we go. What do we need? So the first thing is it's going to issue you what's called an envelope number once you upload those documents via their scanner, or if you're doing it from your own office, make sure that you very, very quickly write down your envelope number. The envelope number is going to contain those documents that you've uploaded and filed in order to get these people out of the property. So what do I need? Here's the checklist, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to give you this form right here. This checklist right here. Hey, Carmela, thank you for jumping on, honey. We're talking about the Landlord-Tenant Law and the dispossessory process. And so this checklist is for your application to execute a writ of possession. That basically means that they have not gotten out of the property. For one reason or another, who knows, but listen, you want them out. And so with that being said, make sure you're following the process. In that checklist, it also talks about the documentation that you are going to need. They're going to give you a stack of forms, okay? I mean, this is basically one case. In dispossessory, I've got a designation of agency form. Of course, I've got the lease agreement documentation. Then you have to have documents notarized, and there is a notary typically in the court here. Fulton County has a notary you can go down to, and so on and so forth. And then your receipt for the payment of the $75 or the $35 in order to file your case. It is the first step is a dispossessory affidavit is the name of the form. The next one is called Certificate of Service to Opposing Party. That is the form. And then you'll get this e-filing submitted notice, okay? The e-filing submitted notice is, again, it's going to give you an envelope number. It is also going to give you a case number, which now you're in line, take a number, and hurry up and wait. Okay, remember, I talked about it. You pay your fees. Once the documents have been submitted to the court, you're going to get an email now that says, we've received your information, and we will put you in line and wait on the judge. So with that being said, I want you guys to just have patience. My understanding right now is that it is taking about 30 to 45 days to get before the judge. It is because here's how the timeline works. Once you've signed that dispossessory affidavit, ladies and gentlemen, you have to wait 7 days for the tenant to be served by the marshal service of that county, sometimes the sheriff's office, depending on where you live, and you have to wait on the judge to sign and review that, yes, you are seeking to take possession of your property by way of eviction. Okay? And so now, guess what happens? 7 days later, you're going to have this thing called an answer. The answer is the tenant's opportunity now to go to the court and say, yes, I owe. No, I don't owe. Yes, I didn't pay because. No, I'm getting out right now and you don't need to evict me. I'll leave on my own. Whatever the case may be, the ranges and the stories are extensive, y'all. Just spend a couple of hours sitting around this place. You'd be amazed at some people's just their thinking and believing and habits and living, and it's just not good. It's just not good. It's not good at all. So please be mindful again of the hurry up and wait. I'm being very serious and funny at the same time because I just want you to have your patience on. So now we've got our dispossessory warrant. We've asked for the sheriff to serve them. You have to get what's called a status report pursuant to Service Members Civil Relief Act. with each individual resident that you are being served or that you wish to have served in the house, to tell them that you're filing suit against them. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You know that piece of paper they tack on the door and say, hey, there's a lawsuit against you and you've got to appear before the judge or show up and do something. So with that being said, make sure that you follow, again, the checklist that the court gives you and that you submit these papers the way you need. So once you sign that, there's this affidavit of non-military service. An affidavit of non-military service is basically you're swearing before the court that, to your knowledge, this person is either military or a non-military individual, because there are laws that protect our servicemen and women. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did not know that, I suggest you research that too. So with that being said, your affidavit of non-military service will then attach to those status reports of the individuals being served. And guess what? Now the sheriff or the marshal can get to serving them at the property. Let's make sure that the address is correct. Let me reiterate. Let me suggest that all your T's are crossed and I's are dotted. All of them, because if there is one misspelled letter in the address, it will not get served. If the zip code is missing or incorrect, it will not get served. If the parties' names are misspelled on one document over the other, it will not get served. You guys, don't waste your time. Do it right the first time and save yourself $1.15 or more. I'm just saying. Okay, so that was painful too. It's just a waste of time. So get it right the first time, and then boom, you'll get this fabulous signature on the bottom that says, boom, so ordered this such and such a day of the month by Judge so and so of the court of such and such a county. That is when we can begin the process of getting the people out of the house. So that was your dispossessory affidavit process. And so now you've got to get into, you've done your part, the tenant has answered, you had a court date, and then what happened in court? You made a consent agreement to give the tenant the time and the number of days that they'll vacate the property and pay what's due. Now, have y'all heard of the saying that they, like, you know, you can't get juice from a turnip? I think that's how it goes, something like that, right? So in other words, investors, if the tenant is already behind in their rent, and you don't have a security deposit to hold funds from, do you really think your chances of getting your money are likely at that time? Let's be honest. The answer should be no. So if you're being realistic and your expectation is that you're not going to get it the day of court, and you now agree to this consent agreement, which is exactly what the form is called from the court, highlighting what the case was mediated to and the parties all agreed to resolve this problem, and hereby pursuant to the requests of the party that this court agrees to the following. And then it's all spelled out in your documentation about who's doing what and paying what and giving over keys by, and what carpet needs to be clean and what rooms need to be painted, and how much am I collecting from you, and if I'm not collecting from you, what kind of payment arrangement are we making in order to satisfy this balance in lieu of a judgment. In lieu of. So that is how that process works. In lieu of. Your consent agreement is in lieu of the judgment. Well, if you're a savvy owner, investor, property manager, and attorney, you are going to also include some language in there that gives provisions for their default of payment of this arrangement that they asked to make with you to break down these payments in order to satisfy this overwhelming balance that you're wanting to file a lawsuit against them of money they owe you. Legally, rightfully, you are entitled to such. And so if they breach that agreement, I highly suggest that there is language that says, in the event they miss a payment, the court shall immediately issue judgment for the balance remaining. Boom. And then it would be so easy to now go back to your eFiling Odyssey system. And now that they have breached this agreement, you are going to start yet another process, which is your application for the execution of the writ of possession, which now forces them to leave. And not only leave, hey Lee, thank you for jumping on, honey, but you must also pay. And not only you must pay, but I have a judgment awarded to me by the judge because you failed to keep the agreement, paying on time or moving on time. So, ladies and gentlemen, you would then have an affidavit of non-compliance with consent agreement and request for judgment form that you are going to complete for the court. And then guess what? You get that form notarized stating that you are based on these facts. The court shall issue an immediate writ of possession, granting the marshal service and the sheriff to go and serve these people, and you get a monetary judgment of the amount that they owe you. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Sworn and signed and notarized, and then at the end, guess what? You get the judge to sign that says pay based on the application for non-compliance. And this affidavit, the court orders, boom, the writ of possession shall be issued instanter is the legal word. Instanter, immediately, right now. Get the marshal service to put you in line. And also, a hearing may be necessary to determine the amount of the money judgment, because if there's some questions about what they owe and how much, then the judge may say, we'll have a hearing. Or boom, they're just going to check that your judgment is entered against so-and-so in favor of you, the plaintiff, being the landlord, and in the amount of blank. Signed, sealed, and delivered, your magistrate court judge. And there you have it. That is the goal, to have that document right there. Now you are no longer self-evicting. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the process of waiting and going through a dispossessory. That's your legal eviction process, y'all. So I hope you learned a little bit. At least I helped a couple of people today. Remember, again, time is of the essence. Have your pocketbook ready. It is at least, I'd say at this point, we're about $200 into the filing fees, meaning paying the court and the judge, the clerk, and the application fees in order to do this process. So landlords, have your reserves ready, $200 or so, in order to do just the legal filing fees. That does not include your property manager's fees. That does not include parking fees and notary fees and postage fees. It's going to cost you. And not only that, but guess what? You're not collecting rent. So your mortgage is still having to come from somewhere too. So investors, just have your reserves on tap for instances where people don't stay and they pay, get it together, girl. They don't pay and they choose to stay while not paying. And so that is not legal in Georgia. It's basically squatting. Holding a house hostage is not legal, y'all. Okay? There's some legal things that people need to know, what the landlord's rights are and what the tenant's rights are. So I hope you will refer again to that guide. This has been your edition of Georgia Landlord-Tenant Law. I hope you learned something. So thank you for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and segue very quickly, because the next thing that I have for you is an event that we are hosting right here at Legacy Realty and Management. And so for those of you on Instagram, if you'll connect with me on Facebook, you'll see all the details about the event. Be sure to RSVP by calling or inboxing me, because we only have a dozen seats. This is the Investors Roundtable. The Investors Roundtable is being brought to you by Legacy Realty and Management and Blue Corp Financial. My good friend Vaughn Shoel will be here to talk about getting that plan in place for your retirement and wealth building strategies as real estate investors. We'll also have Kenneth Igwe here from Baker Collins & Co. He is going to be giving us some information about how you do private money loans and hard money loans and creative financing strategies. That basically means, how do I get other people's money? And I know quite a few of you that are wanting to be investors and you ain't got a dime. So you need to be here at the round table. And then lastly, we are going to have my favorite tax strategist around, and that is Miss Bernadette Harris. And Bernadette is going to be by the book accounting. Shout out to Bernadette here on Instagram and Facebook. I love you, sweetie. And she is going to be sharing some information about your tax strategies as an investor and how to position yourself and your business, because being a real estate investor is a business, ladies and gentlemen. So I invite you to attend and join us for our event. It is a lunch and learn on Friday, August 10th from 11 until 1 right here in Atlanta. And I hope that you will join me for my Investors Roundtable. It will cost you nothing. Why? Because it's just information until you are ready to get in the seat, in the driver's seat, as they say. That's when you start budgeting accordingly, okay? Getting involved, investing, hiring your coach and building your team and your employees and such. So for those of you, again, I want you to be sure that you're going to tune in right now, because there's going to be some great information. I might even do a live stream. You never know. So tune in. I'm bringing up this broadcast for everyone. IG, remember, Facebook has the information too. Thanks, Carmela. I appreciate your feedback, sweetie. I hope I'm helping somebody today. It was just really something that I've experienced this recent week, and it has not been fun at all dealing with this legal process, y'all. As a property manager and a broker, I bow out. I like to hire an attorney and let them get into all this cruel. It's just, I can't. It's hard to put people out, y'all. My heart is big, but people are crazy. I'm just saying. So there. All right. So with that, I think you've got the invitation. I've extended the invitation. It's on Facebook. It's scrolling and rolling. If you like what you've seen, please reshare this information. And if you'd like to talk to me about your real estate needs and being an investor, or if you wish to RSVP for Friday's Investors Circle Lunch and Learn, call me. It's 678-439-7075, okay? 678-439-7075. And that concludes this edition of the Geek Tank. So thank you so much for tuning in. This broadcast has been brought to you by my Joystick Jr. Shout out to Joy Pearson. I will be talking to you soon, sweetheart. Everybody else, for all of your real estate needs, Legacy Realty and Management is a residential and commercial real estate and property management firm here in Metro Atlanta, serving all of Georgia as a licensed brokerage and property management company. And if you are looking to partner with a broker that can help you grow your investment portfolio, I would like to encourage you to join me. And I've got a call coming in. I gotta go. Work is calling. Have a great day. Take care. Thank you for tuning in. Share, please. Bye. Thanks, y'all. It's been amazing. I appreciate you tuning in today. And come back next week. This time, it's the Geek Tank TV. I am Sabrina Lowery, your technology evangelist.